One, two. Welcome! Hi, welcome to the Video and Vinyl Club. I am Emmy Wildwood. I'm a musician and an art director.
And I am Erin Mars. I'm a musician, director, writer, and many, many more things. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you with us to talk about music and movies, things we love.
Yes, if you found us just by accident and it's your first time listening, we are a podcast that likes to conjure up the spirit of your old-timey video stores, you know, where they might buy, sell, and trade videos or DVDs or vinyls. You might pick up some incense, you might get a movie poster while you're there, and you might meet people and talk about movies and music and just find out the natural way through conversation.
Yeah, through conversations, just like you were in a coffee shop, but focus more on music and video.
Yeah.
My record store used to also sell black lights, you know, the light bulbs. So you could have your black light poster and then put your light bulb on. So it's super groovy, man.
Yeah.
So talking about groovy things, today we are going to be talking about a film directed and co-written by Zoe Kravitz called
Zoe. Blink Twice.
Blink Twice. Now, Blink Twice, I watched this last night. I feel like this is your pick, Emmy.
It was my pick. And I feel like just like as a modern woman, I should say trigger warning, just a little bit. We are dealing with some some sexual abuse here. And if you are sensitive to that, this might not be the episode for you. Or you might want to just, you know, prepare yourself a little more closely, or listen and empower yourself. It's your choice. We just wanted to let you know. If
you want to skip and catch us on the next one, that's cool too.
Yeah.
So let's quickly just kind of go over the synopsis of the film storyline. We have a character, Slate King, which I love that name. I was like, this is a great name for someone who's a tech mogul in the film, who is basically this millionaire, billionaire kind of guy who has, right from the beginning, we realized, made a public apology for some behavior that he had been accused of and was guilty of, and has said that he has become a reformed man. And he has his own island where he, you know, relaxes and keeps chickens and all that kind of stuff. So pretty early on in the film, we see a woman. Her name is Frida. You realize she's a waitress, young woman. She lives with her best friend named Jess. They're both working for a company that does large events. She's like a waitress at one of these big galas.
Catering
kind of deal. And her best friend work together there. And they are at this event for the big tech company that Slater King owns.
Right off the bat, they show a clip of her before she is about to attend or cater an event that he's going to be at. And right before the event takes place, or right before she's on her way to the event, they show her watching a clip of him on TV where he talks about how he is now reformed. And she looks a little bit mesmerized by him, she's staring at him doe-eyed, a little, you know, entranced by him. So you get the feeling maybe she has a little crush.
Yeah, she's kind of infatuated with him.
Yeah.
And so they show up to this gala. They're, you know, part of the wait staff for the catering company. And then partway through, she pulls out two dresses, and her friend in matching dresses go into the gala like they're attending the gala. And she meets Slater King pretty quickly and is so almost like hypnotized by him. She can't even really talk. Now, very quickly on, they flirt all night. They're having a great time. He introduces her to a bunch of his friends. She's like in this whole world that you feel she's not really a part of at all. And he is like, oh, it's the end of the night. His friends are like, let's go to the island. Let's get on the private plane. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And he's leaving. And then he comes back and he's like, hey, do you girls want to come with us? You want to come on my jet to my private island for a few days? And they're like, great. Yes. So they come and they show
Yeah.
up. It's this compound. They have different rooms, and every room has clothes already there for the guests and anything they could possibly need.
Yeah.
Um, and it goes from there. So, Emmy, let me ask you, before you saw the film, did you think, and this is maybe just based on like previews or what you had heard about it, that it was going to be the type of film that it ended up being?
No, I didn't think so. I didn't really know at all, but
Yeah.
just based on the way it started,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be sort of a tech horror. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, just because that was the name, it didn't touch on, it didn't foreshadow anything like what ends up unfolding. It foreshadows sort of like, yeah,
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I mean, the way that my understanding of what this film would be about, I honestly thought it might even have to do with like cannibalism. Like I thought it would
yeah,
be way more kind of in the style of like Get Out, which it kind of
that's,
is, but it's
yeah,
also kind of not. It goes into a way, one thing I'm going to say really quickly, this is a female director, right? Zoe Kravitz is an actor, she's a director, and she co-wrote the script. Considering what the film touches on, which is like sexual abuse against someone's knowledge, which
mhm,
this isn't so much a spoiler. I feel like it's something we need to talk about because it's like the basis of the film.
yeah,
That being said, you don't see any boobs.
yeah,
We didn't see, which I kind of was like, oh, this is considering the content of what they're showing, which
yeah,
is, pretty, you understand, like people are being sexually assaulted,
yeah,
but it's almost a more implied sexual assault versus other films I've seen that feel way more graphic.
yeah,
I thought this was done in a more tasteful way as best that can be done. Now, that
yeah,
being said, you do see people get slammed with like a marbled chessboard in the face and their teeth are knocked out and all kinds of like really gruesome, bloody stuff. The blood and guts and all that kind of thing is there, not so much the guts, but you see certain aspects like that. But in regard to like the sexual assault and violence, we don't see a woman getting her clothes like yanked off of her, like you do with Interview for a Vampire when they're at the Théâtre de Vampire. You don't see, it's not as graphic as
yeah,
a lot of other films that I've seen when they're showing sexual violence.
yeah.
Uh,
I suspect that happened on purpose for two
yes,
reasons. One,
yeah,
maybe as actors, there is a boundary that you need to keep when you are, you know, cosplaying being sexually assaulted. I mean, there is maybe some limits to how far you go visually, how naked
yep,
you are when you're filming scenes of sexual violence, because that can be quite psychologically damaging to actors. But the
yep,
second part of it is, I believe that it echoes maybe a lot of women's actual experience with sexual assault, where they don't remember
yeah,
exactly. They're going to remember their head banging against the wall when something bad's happening, or the sound that they're hearing in the background, or you're just remembering slices of what happened, and there's just like a feeling inside, like a knowing that something
mhm,
happened.
mhm,
Particularly when you are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, especially in when you're under the influence of something that is, a date rape drug, something that's designed to make you forget,
yeah, yeah,
essentially.
totally.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that that's sort of where the filming came from, that they didn't show all that, that it's really like there's just
Yeah.
scenes they're implied that something's
Yeah,
happening. Yeah.
you made some really good points.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to touch on that. So one is through the Me Too movement, there became uh a thing that was mandatory was to have on set a representative to make sure that during those scenes, any kind of scenes of intimacy, the actors are completely comfortable. They know what's going on. People are wearing the things that they're supposed to and allowed to be wearing, even when they're kind of nude. Sometimes they're, wearing certain covers and all that kind of stuff, so that there's no longer the potential for anybody to be manipulated to do something that's against what they would like to have happen, because that has happened too many times where an actress in an interview will later say, so and so was actually having sex with me and I did not know what to do, and I'm on set with all of these people around, and it's like, what is going on? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so they're called intimacy coordinators, and I think that that's been a great change, and something that was needed for a very long time, because what you're talking about when actors are doing these types of scenes, especially in regard to sexual violence, but really I would think any type of intimacy, that's an incredibly vulnerable place. And you want to make sure, even if in the script it says one thing, you have to make sure the actor feels as comfortable as possible, especially for women and younger
Yeah.
women, in what's being done,
Yeah.
because they will feel completely taken advantage of. And many women have been taken advantage of, people have been taken advantage of when they've been in these types of scenes, feeling pressure that sometimes they're just trying to kind of get through it. And if they don't
Yeah.
get through it, then they don't want to get labeled as like difficult. And maybe that's the threat that's getting thrown around. Oh, she's being
Yeah.
difficult about this. And so they're going to do something that maybe they don't really want to do. Having an intimacy coordinator on set gives you more of a safety net that that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah,
So
that's good to know. I mean, these are the kinds
yeah,
of like I love to hear about process and procedure evolving on sets, because for a long time I think it was really the studio was catered to rather
yes,
than rather than the actors. The actors were just supposed to feel lucky to be there, or
yeah,
and
exactly.
again, particularly women.
Yes,
And oftentimes people don't even know what their response might be
yes,
when they are going through something like recreating these sorts of this sort of psychological violence that's
yep.
occurring. And I just read Britney Spears's book randomly. I'm going to digress for one moment, but she talks
Oh,
about
cool.
her first role as an actor in a film she did, where she struggles with sort of identity issues, and how just becoming a character herself, like just becoming a different person and having to study for another role in that way, really was difficult on her psychologically, and she never quite came back from it because she disassociated so hard for the role. That wasn't healthy for her. She didn't have anyone to guide her through to help her keep healthy boundaries at that time, and she sort of blames that as the beginning of her not sort of losing herself, because she wasn't guided through that moment
Mm,
of deep dissociation. And so I
mhm.
can imagine how a movie that's really sexually violent like this one, or deals with themes like that, it's really important to have that kind of support nearby,
Yeah,
because people sometimes don't know what it's going to bring up for them, and they don't know how they're going to behave if somebody else is crossing a line. They're not
right.
totally, some people
Yeah,
freeze, some people, cry, some people just, it's like, and then not to mention, every time you stop during filming, it's like a whole big deal, right? Isn't that a thing? It's like
yes,
you don't want to stop. You want to
Yes.
you want to get the full scene as much
Yeah,
as possible.
you're
So,
always really, really conscious of your time.
right.
So if you go overtime, that makes the budget for the whole production, go crazy, and or it has that potential. Producers who know what they're doing have estimated in a little bit of that's going to happen.
Mhm.
Uh, so ideally there are things where again it's like she's difficult, she's being difficult, and
Yeah.
everybody, the 30 people here, we're all waiting on you kind of
Mhm.
energy. And that's obviously total malarkey, but that is something that I think, used to happen and probably in many ways still happens.
Yeah.
I think that we hopefully are getting past that. I'm just looking up her Britney's films. So that Long Shot or was that Crossroads? It says Long
I
Shot was her
think
first film.
okay, I think it was Crossroads.
Okay,
And
that was her big one.
right, it was her big one, but I don't even think it was a particularly dramatic I think it was like typical kind of like growing pains,
Yeah,
going
Shonda
into a
Rhimes
drama.
script. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it wasn't
yeah,
anything like ultraviolet, but just the having to be someone else, just the commitment of having to go so deeply into a different character. And I believe the character is sort of similar to her as a girl, so it was sort of hard for her to differentiate between her and who this character was
yeah,
for the rest of her life. It sort of began this descent away from self. And I don't know, these are things people should, but maybe don't prepare you for when you are becoming an actor or celebrity. Um,
yeah.
that
There's definitely a huge difference between what people can expect is going to be happening and what really happens.
mhm,
I think that that's one of the eye-opening things all performers, anyone who's getting into performance starts to realize you are taught be professional, be on time, do all these things, excuse me, follow certain rules. But then on the flip side, sometimes you're not treated with that same grace and you're not treated with that same level of respect and you're not treated as anything more than just the prop.
right.
Often, that can be kind of like a little bit shocking. And
Yeah.
I guess it comes down again to that thing that we've talked about a few times about the importance of having a really strong, grounded sense of self-love and
Yeah.
boundaries that equate boundaries. Because it can
Hmm.
be scary to say, that doesn't feel good to me. I'm on
Hmm.
this film and this is like this is supposed to be my break. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
That's got to be really, 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 really hard. I don't know how many people could do that.
Yep.
Um, but even, with Brittany, oh, Brittany, um,
Yeah.
she's somebody who's in many ways the breadwinner for her whole family for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So she's
And
dealing with a whole other level of
right. And I guess
pressure.
exactly. And maybe some people don't know how good it feels to leave yourself, and maybe how that could be a place that your brain kind of gets addicted to going. And in the same sense, that's what trauma does to you. So with these sort of scenes of having to um, back to blink twice, the for them to have to act out all those violent scenes of sexual assault and rape and violence, that would be very, very difficult, I imagine, for everybody. I mean, a lot of times there's just one scene like that in a movie. Do you know what I mean? But when we're dealing with so many assaulters, so many women being assaulted, that would be very difficult to watch for the person looking through the lens, for the actors, for the, and
Yes.
that stays with you, you know? So I imagine that they made, an informed choice to do as little as possible. Or I'm hoping that Zoe Kravitz made a choice to put them through as little as possible, because I felt that. I've sort of felt like maybe that was a choice, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what I think you're saying too, is you noticed that. So that
Yeah.
maybe was a choice. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
there weren't a lot of boobs.
No, no, no. There wasn't like a softness there.
Yeah.
Uh, and so what we're really talking about too is, I think, legally called chemical submission. And that's when someone has been given something so that they've become chemically submissive. Now, in this film, the people aren't actually, knocked out like they're roofied and they're just lying there totally, being able to be like rag dolls. They're completely awake. It's just that they're under this drug that makes them not remember anything.
Mhm.
And so they can actively fight against something, but then suddenly be like, wait, what am I doing here? It's
Yeah.
so, which is super creepy. And also
Mhm.
exactly what you're talking about in regard to trauma, living through a traumatic experience where you're fighting or whatever is happening. And then it's so crazy, but then waking up and going, huh, wait, what? What was that? I don't know where I was for like 4 hours, or I don't know what was
Yeah.
happening. That's so strange. Which makes it even scarier. So, this film has some funny moments. The casting, I think, is pretty great. Uh, I'm going to be honest though. Let's go back to our vinyl record rating. Now, this film,
Wait, wait. What's our vinyl record rating though system?
we did it one time. So let's talk about this, because we're going to start bringing this back into more episodes of our podcast. So I think it will help everybody understand.
But what's the scale? One
10, it's
vinyl.
0 vinyl records or 10 vinyl records.
Okay, okay.
10. I like 10 as opposed to 5, because sometimes things are a little bit more subtle and we want to be able to give them an extra depth here. So on a scale of 10 vinyl records, I give this film a 5. What do you give this film?
Mm, I think I align with Rotten Tomatoes. They have like a 70% kind of rating in
Okay,
the
so you give
70s.
it,
I'd say a 7.
okay.
No, okay, I'll give it 6.8, but
Well, you could do 7. You could do 7. That's
fine,
fine. 7
7.
is 7 is fine.
Um, I,
Um,
I'm gonna tell
and
you why. I'm gonna
yeah,
tell
tell
you
me
why.
why. Tell me why.
Okay. First of all, Zoe Kravitz is what? How is she, like 30 years old?
She's young, yeah. I'm
She's
not
young.
sure.
Maybe 20, maybe she started the idea for this in her 20s. Maybe she is reflecting on her young self when you are a woman and you just are young and you're wanting to have your big chance, your big break, and you can get wrapped up in
She's 35. Okay,
she's
sorry.
35 now. Yeah. So I guess just reflecting on my younger years, reflecting, maybe other women reflecting on their earlier parts of their career, you have this idea in your mind that you need a connection to get to this your big break or whatever. And she hasn't come into her own yet. She hasn't come into her own success yet, this main character. And you're really looking for someone to attach to. You're looking for help to get to this big your best self when you're in your earlier years. You're really like searching and searching for experiences. You just really want someone to connect you, to make it a little easier on you. And when somebody like this big tech giant that's played by Magic Mike, by the way,
Yeah, Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum plays the big tech giant, and he's
Mm-hmm.
so charming and
Mm-hmm.
gentle and
But
telling,
scary.
but in
He's
the
got he's got a big energy that is a little bit creepy in a
yeah,
way
but when he shines his light on her,
on
she is
Frida.
sucked in. On Frida, she is sucked in. And how that can be the only thing you want to see. You don't want to look at the scary big energy. You are just you just want the good thing to happen. And when you're young and you're looking to sort of create your life and
Hmm.
do something memorable and have big experiences and feel good about yourself, it's very easy to want to attach yourself to somebody who's very powerful, charming, makes you feel like $1 million, puts you
Hmm.
on a private plane. I appreciated that she told sort of the how you can get into um a situation like that. When you're dealing with someone who has that much money, that much power, it's
Hmm.
very easy to negotiate with yourself and make excuses and be like, I'm safe. There's all these other people here. Like, he's so famous.
Yeah.
How could anything happen? Like, that can't
Yeah.
happen. And also, I think people really don't think it's possible for bad things to happen. I think when you're a young woman, until something really dark happens to you, you
Yeah.
don't think that the darkness will apply to you. You don't think that something bad can
Yes.
happen.
Yeah. Which I think is true of many people who end up in abusive relationships, which in many ways you kind of find out these people have had a pretty fucked up and um, longer relationship than she even realizes,
Yes.
which comes down to abuse. And often when people are in an abusive situation, and I can speak, openly about my own experiences in my past, I found myself in a psychologically abusive relationship and was totally unaware of it to the point where I was showing my friend some of the text messages that this person had sent me, and she started crying. And it was when she started crying that I thought, oh my God, this is real. I'm in a really bad situation. And I changed that situation. I got out of that situation, but it took a lot. It was very scary and it took a lot of time. And I think often when a woman or a person, let's just open it up because
Yeah.
anybody, regardless of gender, can find themselves in a relationship they never thought they would be in.
Yeah.
You start to talk yourself out of what's actually happening. And
Hmm.
in this film, and it's almost like a survival skill, right? It's like, okay, that didn't really happen. That
Yeah.
happened, but that didn't really
Yes,
happen. That
exactly.
couldn't have been what I actually think happened. No, because that would never happen to me. That was
Hmm.
just a mistake. That was a one-time thing. That was a blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Like all the stuff.
Yeah.
And again, going to the blocking out of things that have happened. But so often in, abusive relationships, which is what we're talking about with these two characters in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's like they are drawn to each other with this, dangerous uh intoxication that they have for each other.
Yeah.
And I think that that actually is one of the reasons why I am rating the film a little bit lower, because I think that that could have been played more.
Yeah.
I think that there could have been a little bit more in their dynamic. I thought the chemistry between those characters um, could have been higher. I didn't
Yeah.
totally feel um, so much of that between them. It felt a little bit flat to me.
You mean
Uh,
between Frida and Channing Tatum?
yeah, between
Frida and
Slater
Slater.
King and Frida, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
They're
I,
they're I felt like Frida was more entranced by Slater than Slater was by her, but that makes sense because she was sort of just a little toy to him. He didn't, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
honestly, I love Channing Tatum, like, as I think he's darling, but he kind of is always Channing Tatum, right? His specific brand of of character is generally always sort of like played through this lens of regular guy. And
yeah,
but who's very handsome, which
yeah,
actually can work in a lot of roles. Like, lots of regular guys are
totally.
psychos.
Yeah, he
Looking at
seems
him.
like,
Yeah.
the football star from high school who
Hmm.
like went to the Ivy League school, and he's
Hmm.
such a nice guy, and he's like, oh, he's grounded, and
So
he's not like how
cute.
could be. He's like this other dude. And I mean, in real life, I think he's probably a very nice guy. I don't know why I
Yeah.
get that feeling, but
Hmm.
I've never heard any people be like he's a dick.
He wrote it. He wrote a children's book.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably a
Yeah.
really sweet, nice, genuine person.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but as a that type, he's getting certain type of roles, and
Yeah.
those type of roles I don't think require him to stretch all too much
Yeah.
for characters.
So
One of the actors that oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if that's why it felt a little like flat to you, because there is a flatness to the way he plays things, because that's kind of his brand. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying his acting is
Yeah,
flat. I'm just saying because he's like a dude that's like, nice guy dude, dad next door vibes, but cute. Like he can be a little like
maybe. I
one.
mean, I just also though felt like there could have been, I don't know, it was like the chemistry between the two of them. I just
Yeah.
sometimes you feel it between the actors and it's like just electric. And
Yeah.
this didn't give me that. I just didn't pick up that kind of sense between them.
Yeah.
One of the actors though in this film who I thought did a really great job was Elia Shawkat. I think I'm saying her name right. Maybe I'm
Shoke.
Shawkat, who played Jess.
Yeah, so good. I
There was
love
a
her.
minute, yeah, there was this scene between Naomi Aki, who plays Frida,
Yeah.
and um, Frida and Jess, the two of them as best friends, have this scene together, and it felt so real where Frida is saying to her, I heard you sneak out of the apartment at 3, you're hooking up with this person again, blah, 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 whatever. And they go back and forth, and it's just this and there's almost like this pause between them, and
Yeah.
you just can feel the hurt that Jess
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
from the comment that Frida makes. That minute, that scene,
Yeah,
chef's kiss.
they
They had
definitely had a chemistry as
they
best.
had an incredible chemistry
Yeah.
together. The two of them, incredible chemistry. You believe they're best friends. You believe they're best friends who love each other like sisters. That
Yeah.
I totally, totally bought. But that other dynamic, I just, so
You didn't like
that's
it.
to me. I did like seeing Christian Slater. I love Christian
Oh, he
Slater.
was great. I
I'm a big
love
Christian Slater
Christian
fan.
Slater. He's
Loved seeing him.
amazing. Yes.
Loved seeing Gina Davis. Love her as an actor.
She
Hadn't
was
seen her in
so
something.
good. Yeah.
She was fantastic. Loved seeing Haley Joel Osment.
Haley Joel Osment was
Man,
so,
he was great. And I
yeah.
mean, in general, it was like a lot of really fun actors. Kyle MacLachlan, he had a small role as the psychiatrist, but it was just like
Yeah.
a lot of great people that you like to see in this film. And I think that kind of made it fun. That's why I'm giving it 5 vinyl records. Maybe I'm a
Yeah.
harsh rater. I think this film is fun. Would I watch it on a plane? Yeah, I'd watch it on a plane. I mean, I'm saying fun in the sense of,
Yeah.
it's something to watch. I'm not going to rewatch it.
Yeah.
I think let's see where she goes. Let's see what Zoe Kravitz does next. I want to continue to see her stuff, but let's talk more about Zoe Kravitz.
Mm-hmm.
Zoe Kravitz's dad is Lenny Kravitz,
Yep.
and Lenny Kravitz was married to
Lisa Bonet.
Lisa Bonet. Lisa Bonet was on The Cosby Show.
Yep.
And as we know, Bill Cosby uh, did some really horrible things, and drugged women, and then did really horrible
Hundreds of victims.
hundreds of victims,
Yeah.
hundreds of victims. Um, so could that have possibly been a little bit of the inspiration for some of the
Well,
story of this film? I don't think so, but
look, here's the thing. So when we're talking about ratings of this film and why, and I think it's good because it touches on something we don't see a lot, um, because this kind of abuse is generally covert, right? They're going to be someone like Cosby, Bill Cosby, who's so lovable. I mean, he was a hero. Everybody loved him.
He did
Um,
the Jello Jigglers commercials. He
yeah, and he
was
was
a
just like,
family brand.
yes, a family
That's
brand.
I think that's why it was even more in some ways shocking, but how he
Right.
was able to get away with it.
I think a lot of times people don't really discuss what's true, which is that some of the people doing the worst things are these people that America has come to love. And we don't talk about it because it breaks America's heart. Like, we don't want to just like upset everyone and, um,
Yeah.
erase all the good years of enjoyment that's happened. But the truth is that that stuff really, that's kind of how it happens. And I also like the aspect you talk about the relationship between Frida and Jess. I liked that they sort of, you see how when one person has doubt, they're both there on the island and one person's like something's not right, the other one's like please, like I need this, I want, like, let me have this. And then, you know,
Yeah.
they basically help, they're basically codependent through convincing each other it's not true. They can't, they're both in disbelief that something could really be very wrong. And I think as women, we do that for each other all the time because we don't want we don't want it to be true. We don't want the other person to have be going through something really, really terrible. Um, and it's how people get away with things for a very long time.
Yeah.
How, because we are just like this, people have trouble accepting that terrible things can happen. And
Yes.
that people who present as loving and warm and charming can be something so monstrous behind the scenes. People just have trouble accepting that because we want to believe that we are capable of seeing a bad thing when it's in front of us, because that really, really scary, the scariest thing ever. And I
Yes.
liked the sort of, when you say it's like maybe for teenagers, you might be right, because when I was a teenager, there weren't a lot of movies about stuff like this, about
Mhm.
how you kind of experience talking yourself out of it, or two friends
Uh-huh.
talking each other out of it. And they don't talk about
Yep.
the complexity of that. It didn't present scary. It presented completely harmless. I had a
Yeah.
feeling, but why would I follow my feeling? That,
Right.
it's like they're layered issues, and
Yeah,
it's,
and
yeah,
people feel a little bit intimidated
yeah,
by these people who are super wealthy and famous, and
yeah,
so they're around them and they want to fit in and they want to feel like they can be a part of this too. They can be a part of this world as well. And
yeah,
so they overlook things because everything is so new. They overlook things that in another setting they probably would immediately see as red flags, seem
yeah,
more like yellow flags,
yeah,
or maybe I'm just
yeah.
going to ignore that. Um, yeah. And so,
Anyways,
with Bill
yeah,
Cosby, that was horrible. I think if you have been paying attention to the news, and for a while people were talking about this, I feel like it's a case that kind of went away. It's currently on trial, but in France, um, there's a huge case that has been going on, um, about a man admitting in court that he had drugged his wife, so that he and dozens of men could rape her. He started doing this. This is his wife of 50 years. He started doing this, I think she was in her 60s. So this wasn't happening when she was younger, but really, who the hell knows? Because what he's saying is, you know, is it the truth? Um, the more that comes out about the case, the more upsetting it becomes. I think it brings to light a few things. One, this is probably much more common than people ever, ever, ever want to admit or think about or talk about. She had gone to multiple doctors over the years for different issues she was having. She was having different infections, vaginal issues. She kept going to the doctors. And because she had been married for so long, those doctors were not doing STD testings or STI tests or whatever. She could have had all kinds of things. They finally did once this came out and he was pretty much caught. She had 4 different sexually transmitted infections, diseases. He had also done things, taking pictures of his daughter-in-laws, things that are just so beyond what you would think anyone with a moral compass is capable of.
Yeah.
And he had separated in his mind, as people do. It's like that truncating of this exists in one space over here, and then in this other space over here is this totally different existence. And so it's like leading a double life. He was a grandfather. He's still alive, but this has changed. This has brought up so much anger. He was putting online, come over to my house, these like little chat groups or whatever it was, come to my house on Telegram. This is my house. You have to leave your car down the street over here. Meet me over here. Come to the front door. I'll let you know like when she's ready. Come upstairs, and then you're gonna just, you can do whatever you
Like
want with her.
elaborate schemes,
He would be in the
big,
room.
big
Yep. Well,
manipulations of even the people engaging. He basically got other people to sexually assault his wife, thinking it was consensual.
yes.
I saw, yeah. So he
Yes.
made the people believe she was consenting to it too.
Which also, frankly, how fucking naive do you have to be? So
Well,
she's passed out. It's like,
yeah.
but people I think are using that as an excuse because what they wanted to happen, they go, well, he told me, how would I know? But it's like,
Well, right.
dude, you would know.
You
You don't
need to
want to have
hear
a
it.
conversation with her first?
You need to hear
No.
it. You need consent from the person you're about to, engage with sexually. This
Yes.
also brings
Yes.
up the P. Diddy trial. I mean, I don't know how much you've followed that, but like very similar
Yeah.
themes. P. Diddy has these parties where he's giving stuff to, people who are attending. He's putting stuff in their drink that's making them sort of black out for hours. Again, it's sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's a date rape drug. Maybe this,
Yeah.
but he's giving them stuff that's making them forget what even happened. And
Yep.
lot of times when you like, all I can align it with really is, it's maybe drinking too much and waking up and knowing something happened. Maybe blacking out,
Yeah.
but knowing something happened, like maybe you have a fight with your friend or something, and it's like you can't really remember the fight. You know
Mm-hmm.
you had a
Mm-hmm.
fight. You can't remember
Mm-hmm.
exactly what happened or why. It's
Mm-hmm.
sort of that. So you're left with this feeling
Mm-hmm.
that something happened, and that feeling actually can be in your subconscious for like
Mm-hmm.
ever because your brain knows it happened, but
Mm-hmm.
you in your present consciousness don't know it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts creating this turmoil in a victim of that,
Mm-hmm.
a sort of agitation that
Mm-hmm.
a person can identify, and it can
Yeah,
be the
and over
beginning
time
of,
can make you really sick.
yeah, over time can make you very, very sick. And the perpetrators of crimes like this, that's the right word, right? Perpetrator,
Mhm.
person who did
Yep.
it.
Yep.
People who do Bill Cosby's, the P. Diddy's, um, have lost touch with reality entirely.
Mhm.
They think that, or like this guy that, you're talking about who did this to his wife.
Mhm.
It you're talking about sort of splitting off, right? Like their personalities. It's like they maybe lose touch with reality so badly that they don't feel that, I mean, they've reconciled it somehow in their minds that it's okay because it's not like who they really are or something like that. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I think, people use justification to do all kinds of evil things
Yeah.
that they sometimes, can try to say it's not my fault. I had this really bad childhood. It's not my fault I'm screwed up. It's not my fault. It's not my fault when they get caught.
Yeah.
Before they get caught, they're not talking about their bad childhood. They're talking
Yeah.
about how to get their rocks off,
Yeah.
or they're not talking about it at all. They're just doing it. When we're watching a film about sexual abuse, sexual manipulation, and power manipulation, and the ways that people
It's about
are
control. It's about control. It's not about sexual abuse. It's about these men trying to take control of their lives because they don't have the
control.
emotional vocabulary, the emotional intelligence, the emotional or the
Yeah,
permission from
yeah,
society to take control of themselves
yeah,
compassionately,
yeah,
intrinsically.
yeah. It's not about sex, it's about power.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And so,
power is about fear.
yeah.
This all comes down to fear.
Hmm.
That being said, I didn't feel like this movie was very scary.
No, it felt like something that I didn't feel like it was scary either. I felt like it's to me the sort of worst case scenario of what can possibly happen with
Mhm.
when you're in a situation with somebody who is uh needs to feel powerful, needs to
Yeah,
feel in control. The worst possible example of that, uh,
yeah,
that sort of patriarchy at work. The
yeah.
way, and anyways, I just thought it was interesting back to Zoe Kravitz, and I wonder I
And this was
wonder,
definitely also a nod to Epstein and Epstein's Island, except it's
oh
like if
yeah,
Epstein had an island and then everybody forgets.
yeah. I didn't know Epstein had an island.
Oh, yeah. He had an island. He had everybody come to the island. He had Trump was on the island.
Oh my God.
Prince Andrew came to the island.
Yeah,
Clinton
see,
came
this
to the
is the
island.
problem.
I
Is
think even
like,
Obama came to the island.
great.
Don't come at me, people. Don't come at me. I'm not saying they did all that stuff. I'm just saying Jeffrey Epstein had an island and people came for dinner. That's all I'm saying. I don't
Well,
know who stayed for more and who didn't, but
like
people came, people left.
owning an island in the first place, total loss of reality. Like okay, you don't even there's nobody you don't there's when you own an island, literal rules don't apply to you because there's no police there. There's no
Right.
CCTV. I mean,
Right.
talk about control and power, being the
Yep.
most powerful person. Like you are
Yep.
on an island.
You're on an island, and so these people can't escape. These things actually happened, but obviously, so I think that was also part of the impetus of like, it's an island, and we're flying you to this island, and we're these people who are super rich, and you're around like all these people, and it's like, "Ooh, yeah, blah blah blah."
Mhm.
Um, anyway,
Yeah, I don't want to ever I just want to like hang out in my living room with like the three people I know. This kind of story doesn't do any favors to my trust issues. I would
yeah,
just like don't want to meet anyone new ever again. Anyways, back to the whole I mean, I wonder what Lenny Kravitz thought. First of all, Zoe Kravitz feeling brave enough to make this movie makes me feel like Lenny must be a pretty awesome dad. That like, do you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like that he's
yeah,
like, yeah, girl, like make your like F the patriarchy. I'm,
yes,
you know,
yes. I thought, and her and Channing Tatum are dating. I don't know, or maybe they're
what?
married. I'm not even sure. Oh yeah, girl, you got to get with your tabloids. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
and I don't know why I didn't know that though,
so
but that
they've had like a romantic thing going on, and I wondered actually if that was part of the reason why he didn't have as much chemistry with the lead actress as I thought he could have had.
wait, what? Who's dating? Channing Tatum and
And
Zoe
Zoe
Kravitz.
Kravitz.
Oh, right. Zoe Kravitz. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
I
Because she
I
was because she was
yeah.
watching the whole time.
Oh,
Oh, interesting.
who knows? I don't know.
That's a good
Um,
theory.
yeah, but
Um, I saw Lenny Kravitz recently on the morning show on the Today Show because he has a new record. And
Nice.
yeah, and remember we were talking about Marshall stacks and stuff last week?
Yep.
He had all these big, huge stacks, Marshall stacks on the screen. He was in his bell bottoms, very 70s.
Yeah.
He was like the 90s Jimi Hendrix, as close as you could get, just 'cause he sort of pulled up some of that psychedelic
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Um, so I thought it was like he has a Zeppelin vibe happening, like it's sort of
Absolutely. Yeah.
this mix of that. And
He's a great guitarist.
he was great. Yeah, like he still nails it. He said that he was making this newest album was like the album he would have made, in high school, like the very first, like he felt like he was um getting in touch with his like the kid who wanted to be a rock star in him. And so
That's sweet. Yeah.
yeah, he was like honoring the teenager inside of him, which I thought was very cool. I love to think that way when making music because I don't think that ever changes. I think what you loved when you fell in love with music is kind of the root of everything you love for the rest of your life.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah.
yeah, and so it was cool to hear him say that. I thought that was like, because we're doing this to well, my beautiful hippie woo-woo co-host always talks about inner child. And so it's like we're really doing these sort of like acts of
I was
art.
like, who? Oh, me?
Yeah, exactly. Erin's always talking about your inner child and like how we have to be so nice to it because but so making art always feels like you're honoring, your inner child from like the adult perspective. And so it's cool to hear other musicians talk that way.
Yeah, totally. And it comes back to joy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
life is hard. There's a lot of bad shit in the world, but where are you getting your joy? Life is
Yeah.
not all pain. Life needs to also be joy, and part of
Yeah.
the artistic experience should be joyful.
Yeah. And just living because
Mhm.
how do we counter all these miserable things that we deal with the loud traffic that almost getting hit by a car when you cross the street, going to the drugstore and they're out of your prescription, having to wait in line, someone yelling at you at the market, all this incoming noise and stuff that creates sort of, I don't know, depressive chemicals in you. You are responsible for countering those by experiencing joy, by doing some playing. Literally, some the inner child in you, what do they want to, what makes them happy? That's what's going to bring you all the like good chemicals that sort of create that balance in your
Yes.
life. And
Yes.
thinking about it from the audience's perspective, like, is this joyful, and taking that really seriously. And
Yes.
so it can be both things, but
Yes.
yeah, it's necessary to create good art to be in a joyful place, and that's a great job to have, full time.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think he does.
Absolutely.
I think and also he's just so cute. Like he's 60. Didn't you say he's 60?
He's 60.
He
Yeah.
looks amazing. Like, wow. And he
Yeah.
sounds great. He sounds just like he did, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he definitely is taking care of himself, which is awesome. Um, I think that's
Taking
great.
care of himself.
Yeah.
Right?
He also talking about he has been, I think, celibate for almost 10 years or something.
What?
Yeah, I remember hearing that in an
Oh,
interview with him. So,
I didn't know that.
fascinating. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, all right. We'll put a link. We'll put a link for people to check out Lenny Kravitz's new stuff.
I think this is kind of a heavy episode, but thanks for going through it with us, Erin. I just wanted to say thanks for sharing, being open about your own experience too in there. I wanted to say something earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But
Oh, no, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I
yeah,
think
I mean, I think hearing about it from people, this is how we sort of spread the word, and
yeah.
the spectrum of abuse is huge.
Mhm.
So I think that we should maybe just sort of like end this episode by saying if it feels bad to you as a
Mhm.
person, any situation you're in, to that there are services, there are ways to get out of it. Erin has a number for you right now.
Yes, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233. You can also text 88788 to begin talking to that number. And it's always great to just talk to people.
Yeah.
If you are not sure, if you're ever in a situation and you're not 100% sure, pull a good friend who you consider someone to be mentally healthy to the side, relay to them a little bit of what's going on, and they will be able to help guide you one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk to somebody who is maybe your more grounded friend, somebody who's going to not say, I've been through that too, or the comparative person, right? We want to go to somebody who we think is going to really help us come from a place of grounding and who deeply cares about you and your own well-being. Maybe that's even a family member. And maybe nothing is going on. Maybe something is going on. And sometimes you just really need that sounding board. So always just talk to people about what's going on. And like Emmy said, something feels weird, something feels bad.
Yeah.
That's a sign something is not right.
Right.
So thank you for listening. Thanks for bearing with us through this heavier episode.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate your support. Please join us for the next one. You can tune in on iTunes or Spotify, and please send us a review. Get us some downloads, help us get the word out about this podcast. We're trying to have fun. We want to talk about good stuff. So
follow us on and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We're working on still, but our Instagram is up and running, I'm very proud to say. And
great job, Emmy. Emmy does all of the socials.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there.
You're getting there. Yes. Yeah. And I will help.
You do help. You do. We're good. We're a good team. Okay. Yeah. Well, we are excited to talk to you next week about
Speak No Evil. So Speak No Evil. I'm really excited to talk about this one. We are going to be talking actually about the original Speak No Evil, not the American version that's out right now. So there's and we're just going to kind of do a compare and contrast, and excited to talk about that movie with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye. 1,